Hey guys, it's Kayla, and today I'm going to talk about my books that I read in March 2018. So in March I read 9 books. 4 of those were audiobooks and 5 of them were ebooks. And I'm going to go in the order of how I read them, so let's get started. Okay, so these first 4 books were not the greatest. First up is Dorothy Must Die Volume 2 by Daniel Page. I give this a 2 stars. I listened to this on audiobook. This is the second set of novellas in the Dorothy Must Die series and was definitely the worst set of the novellas. This one contained Heart of Tin, Straw King, and Ruler of Beast. Heart of Tin was basically just the Tin Man whining the whole time because Dorothy doesn't like him. Like, that was seriously the whole story. Straw King and Ruler of Beast was okay in the fact that it included Ozma in the stories, but anything pertaining to the Straw Man and the Cowardly Lion was just annoying. Like, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Cowardly Lion and Dorothy, like, all the original characters are just like the worst characters in Dorothy Must Die. Like, they're bad, but they're also annoying, and it was not fun to read about even in the novellas. I was hoping for more of a backstory, but basically the overall premise is that they were kind of bad to begin with, and then they had a little help with some people, and then they just became really bad. Like, that was about it. Moving on to Yellow Brick War by Daniel Page. I gave this a 3 star and listened to it on audiobook. This is the second book? No, third book. This is the third book in the series, and this is when I started to, like, not like the series anymore. Those novellas didn't help, but this book is when inconsistencies started happening. So plot points were not consistent with what happened in the first book and the first novella. Like, they started changing things, and it wasn't like, some things were small, but some things were like bigger. And these books aren't long, and if you read them, you know, in order like I did, you notice those things. So I don't know, looking at people's reviews on Goodreads, it seems that this series, no one knew how many books there was going to be. Like, people thought originally it was going to be a duology, and then it was going to be a trilogy, and then it ended up being 4 books. And you can kind of see that in the writing, not so much with like how the books end, because they all end with like cliffhangers, but just like the main plot of the stories is just inconsistent. Like, things start changing for the benefit of this new storyline instead of reigning true to the original book. And that really, really bugs me. Like, I hate it when TV shows do that. I hate it when any kind of series does that. I've never noticed it so bad in this series. Then I read The Stories Volume 3, listened to this on audiobook. I gave this a 3 stars. This was a lot better than the last set. This set includes Order of the Wicked, Dark Side of the Rainbow, and Queen of Oz. So Order of the Wicked is basically, we get introduced to a new character we haven't met before, and it's a little bit about the Order, which is like the rebellion group to go up against evil Dorothy. However, I will say this new character and like basically everyone in this order all acts the same, they all sound the same, they all talk the same. And that's something what I mean with the writing. Like, I'm not a writer, and I can pick up on these things. So I feel like a lot of you guys that are also writers, you notice a lot of things, maybe more so than me or anybody else that's just a reader and just reads for fun. This stuff sticks out to me like bad. So I couldn't even imagine someone that is a writer reading these books. Dark Side of the Rainbow is about Polychrome, who is like the daughter of the rainbow or something. She's like my second favorite character in the series, so I enjoyed her novella. It's basically just her relationship with Dorothy, as Dorothy's going bad. And then Queen of Oz is about finally like the origin story of Queen Ozma, like how she came into power after Dorothy left Oz the first time. So those were good stories. However, they were novellas, so I don't think the novellas should really be better than main books in the series. And so finally I read End of Oz, audiobook, gave it 3 stars. Again, very inconsistent storyline. The magic in Oz, I get that Oz is kind of like a nonsensical type of world, but there are rules placed in Oz in the beginning, and then like by this end it was just like, oh well, we can do that because Oz is changing. Like that was their excuse. Like, oh, Oz is changing. What? Okay, I guess, but I don't know, it just still didn't make sense. Like, and really bugged me. The ending was just a cop-out. And like I said, all the characters minus Ozma and Polychrome were just either blah or annoying, or they all sounded the same. Like everyone had the same like catchphrase. Like there was so many phrases in the series that were overused by multiple characters. It wasn't just like one phrase used by one character, because that's just what they say a lot. It was the same phrase used by 5 different characters all the time. It was so annoying. So anyways, if you want to read this series, don't, but if you want to, don't binge it like I did. Like, take your time, give some kind of breaks. But I binged it because I didn't want to forget anything. And I'm kind of glad I did at first, because I was remembering characters and details and stuff like that, because it's not really kind of a recap style series, but it was just not good at all. Like, I've never hated a series so much. And I like to say the books I started reading after this were a lot better, but I think I just got in a really bad slump. Like, this series, like I'm still very bitter about these books. So next I read Punishment by Scott J. Holliday. This was one of my Kindle First books from Amazon, and I gave it 4 stars. I read it on ebook. This is a detective mystery, and it's a pretty basic detective story, minus that the thing that makes it unique is that there's this new machine and technology available that you can hook it up to anybody, dead or alive, and it can like siphon out your memories. And so if you're alive, you can kind of think about memories, and it can kind of store your memories in a computer. If you die, like you're murdered, it can pull, like, depending on the person, it can pull like your most recent memory, and how long it is just kind of depends on the person. And so the cops use this on murder victims. They pull their memory as soon as they can, and then they have one guy, one detective agent, that he hooks up to the machine, and then he relives these memories. So since they're murder victims, he basically sees himself and feels everything and gets murdered, and tries to see clues, tries to see, you know, who did it. Really interesting. In this book, the serial killer is leaving clues for the detective, like before he kills the people. So like he knows that they're going to pull the memories, and so he leaves clues, like wants to be found out. Really interesting. And also with like pulling the memories, like reliving the memories of somebody else, like there's side effects. Really cool system. It's going to be like a series. I'm assuming it's going to be one of those, like each book is like the same detective, but it's going to be like a different serial killer or a different like type of murders or whatever. Even though the book ends, like, doesn't really end on a cliffhanger, or it doesn't, like, it has like a epilogue where it's like years in the future. So I don't know if just the book's gonna pick up after this book ends, minus the epilogue, I don't know. But anyways, really great read if you like detective mysteries, or if like that machine sounds interesting. It was a great read. I really like it. I'm going to continue with the series. So, woohoo! Next I read Wrinkle in Time by Madeline Engel. I gave this 3 stars. I read it as an ebook. I just didn't like this. It was a quick read. I love middle grade, but it was a little weird. There was so much of the book that was like just the beginning parts of like these kids at home with their mom and their dad's missing. Like that was a good chunk of the book, and then like the actual fantastical part was so fast that it just kind of felt like a dream. Like you're kind of like, oh, like things just kind of blended and into the next thing, and now you're here and doing this, and I don't know. Another thing that really like pulled it away from me was like the reveal of the bad guy was weird, like laughable. It was, I don't know. I just wasn't impressed. And then I looked at it, thought about continuing, and I saw that the next book was written like 10 years after this first one, and this first one ends, like it wraps everything up with a nice bow. I'm just not interested in continuing. I just didn't like it. Next I read Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This was an ebook and I gave it 4 stars. I was battling like thinking if it was a 3-star or a 4-star, and then after seeing the movie I definitely think it's a 4-star because the movie is garbage. So the only thing I really didn't like about the book was like I thought the romance was super cheesy, and I thought the ending was like super cheesy, like obnoxiously cheesy. I think that's where a lot of my wishy-washiness comes from for what my rating should be. Next I read Beneath the Sugar Sky by Shannon McGuire. I read this as the ebook and I gave it 5 stars. Finally, this was my only 5-star book of the month, and it was like it was a short-ass book. This is a part of the Wayward Children series where, you know, the kids go to fantastical worlds. They get spit back out. They don't know how to live in the human world anymore, so they go to this boarding school, and the whole time they're just wanting to go back to their magical land. So this one's like technically like the second book in the this one follows after the first book. The second book is technically like a prequel or like a companion. So good. Like this is what I wanted the first book to be. There was more kind of like explanation for like the doors and how they work, and a little bit more detail as far as like what different type of worlds they are and like how they all lay next to each other. I don't know, in the universe or wherever they're at. And we also got like an insight to like the gods of one of the worlds, and that was super cool. Like I just loved everything about this book, and I hope that it kind of keeps going in that direction. And lastly, I read Lost Boy, The True Tale of Captain Hook. Is that what it's called? Yep, The Story of Captain Hook by Christina Henry. I read this as an ebook and I gave it 4 stars. This is like the origin story of Captain Hook, obviously from the title, / like a Peter Pan retelling. This was so good. I didn't love it as much as The Child Thief. However, I mean, it's really heavy on Captain Hook, but it's also just as heavy as Peter Pan. Like kind of not necessarily an origin story for Peter Pan, but just like Peter Pan like Wendy and Peter Pan, like that time. Really cool. Just, I don't know, like I loved Hook in this. Like Jamie is his name, and like we get his full origin story, and it's so good. There's so much to it. It has kind of everything you know from other Peter Pan stories, minus no Tiger Lily or her tribe or anything. There's nothing like that, but everything else is there, and it was really great. And if you like retellings, check it out. It is a dark retelling, by the way. you know, bad things happen. And I will say, like, as a mother, my heart was, like, clenched the whole time reading this. Like, I just, like, it's hard to read about these poor kids who, like, don't have parents. It was hard to read, but it was really good. So, that sounds like your thing. Have at it. Okay, that was it. Guys, my month really sucked. Like, towards the end it started getting better. But even right now, all of my current reads for April have been, like, 3 stars. My favorite reads have been, like, short novellas. I need something that's, like, engrossing and, like, a guaranteed 5-star. I just need something to kind of, like, kick me in the pants. So if you know a book that sounds like that, let me know. I don't know. I will never binge a series like that again. Like, I don't know what. It was like, I should have stopped because I was not having a good time. But, like, I put so much effort in at this point that I had to finish. And I wish I didn't. Because now I'm in this weird mood. So, I hope your March reading experience was way better than mine. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.